Hello, happy Monday. All right, I thought we'd change it up a little bit today. I'm Kirsten Carey, and we are going to talk about cassava flour. What we have seen with cassava flour might blow your mind a little bit, but let's talk about cassava flour. And a lot of you are using cassava flour because you are gluten-free. We are big fans of gluten-free here at Nourish because we have found that gluten-free can help take down inflammatory response, really help with autoimmune reversal, and really help with thyroid issues, digestive issues, and a lot of other chronic challenges that a lot of people are having. So let's talk about cassava flour. So cassava flour is one of the most popular flour replacements for gluten, and gluten is wheat, barley, rye, and arguably oats, depending on what studies we're looking at. But let's just look at wheat, barley, and rye. So we are replacing those things with other flours. One of the most common flours used right now is cassava flour. Now, cassava flour comes from cassava root, or also something known as a yucca root. That's the same thing. It's a root vegetable where you get cassava flour, tapioca flour, and tapioca starch, all coming from the same plant. Now, our root plant. So you're going to see this as a thickener for sauces, soups, stews, dressings, and other foods. You're also going to see cassava flour as a replacement for gluten in baked goods, cupcakes, cookies, chips, crackers. So start paying attention to where you see cassava root or yucca root, or where you see tapioca. Now let's talk about why this actually could be poisoning you and causing you problems. So there's a lot of lead you'll find in dirt. So you're going to find that across the country, across the United States. You'll find this in other countries as well. You see high levels of lead in areas like Arizona, where I live. So now, because cassava root, it grows in the ground. It's going to be more likely to absorb whatever is in the ground than just a standard plant. So you're going to see lead accumulating in the root systems of the plant for anything that's a root vegetable or anything that grows down in the ground. So like potatoes, carrots, cassava. So when they process the cassava into flour, it's going to concentrate the amount of lead because they're able to use more of it in the item than if you were just eating the vegetable itself. So they're concentrating it down. So that's going to see more of a higher concentration in lead. And a 2024, so just this year, 2024 Consumer Reports investigation found that some cassava-based products, including things like veggie puffs, are containing dangerous levels of lead. Now, any amount of lead I don't like, but dangerous amounts, if Consumer Reports is saying dangerous amounts, it must be a lot higher than we typically really want to see as well. So one of the products that they were really looking at was a company named Lesser Evils. They had little puffs. They were a veggie blend of little puffs that you give to little kids, right? And this had more lead per serving than any of the other 80 baby foods Consumer Reports had tested since 2017. So we're seeing an uptick of use of cassava flour since 2017 anyway. And they're seeing now in those just, 7 years, that this product was the number one with the highest amount of lead since they started testing for it in 2017. So you really have to start watching, especially for kid-related foods, because they're using a lot more of this concentrated flour. So you're watching that too. Now, let's talk about a second reason that you might also be having an issue with cassava flour. We've been finding that our clients who have been using products containing cassava flour are experiencing more issues of constipation and digestive challenges. Now, this is for a similar reason, not necessarily because of the lead, though the lead's not helping, but when you have an item like a root vegetable, that when you would normally eat the root vegetable, let's say a beet, you're not going to be eating anywhere near as much in a concentrated form of the beet in its original form than you will be if you're making it into a flour, because you can concentrate it and eat actually more of it because you're taking the water out, you're dehydrating it, it's a lot more of the item than if you had to eat it in its original form. So what this does is it concentrates everything in it, and it actually concentrates in your digestive system. So you need more water, you need more things to go through to help move it through, because then it starts to get kind of sticky in your digestive tract. So we've seen people struggling with more issues of constipation, digestive challenges, lower water and nutrient absorption. So if you were already experiencing digestive issues and constipation or diarrhea, and constipation and diarrhea go hand in hand for a lot of people, due to hormonal imbalances, thyroid dysfunction, autoimmune conditions, challenges with perimenopause, and menopausal issues such as hair loss, hot flashes, waking, cassava flour can exacerbate these issues, because now you have a concentrated amount of this flour in your system that wasn't originally a flour. So your body is taking in more of it at a concentrated higher amount, and it's actually blocking your digestive system from absorbing the nutrients that you're eating. So if you are eating this, start checking if you're eating a lot of things in bags that are gluten-free, things in boxes and bags. You're going to want to reduce that, or at least change up what the base flour is that they're using. Maybe you want to switch over to maybe it's almond flour instead. It's one of the other nut flours. It's one of the other alternative flours. Now, again, keep in mind that cassava is also tapioca-related flours as well. It's the same thing. So these alternative foods, a lot of people think, well, it's gluten-free, it must be healthy. Isn't necessarily true. What we have found across the board is the best choice is typically the food in the original form that it grew in. So the flour version is fun here and there if you need an alternative here and there for a snack or a cupcake for someone's birthday. But if you're eating these things on a regular basis, especially a daily basis, you might be throwing your digestive system into a tailspin and having it struggle or fight through something it wasn't naturally designed to break down the way it's coming into your system. So what we typically suggest our clients do is that they look at whole foods the way they were originally intended to be eaten. They already came this way in nature. They weren't processed. So cassava flour is a processed food. Right? Almond flour is a processed foods. They're not the form that it originally came in. Now, if you take an apple and you turn it into applesauce, that's not a processed food. Yes, it goes through a little bit of processing, but it's not processed in the way that you would see it being broken down and turned into a completely different form. So we want you to start paying attention to what a whole food really is. Your body is going to do better in eating the food in the form in which it originally came, because there's a certain amount of water in that food. There's a certain amount of fiber in that food. There's a certain amount of proteins and carbohydrates in the foods, right? And the way that it was grown, there's a reason that it went together the way that it did. Once we start messing with it and we start altering it, our bodies don't necessarily know how to digest it in the way that we're getting it. And it doesn't understand how to digest it in the amounts or the concentration that we're getting it. So gluten-free doesn't necessarily mean healthy and safe. Gluten-free just simply means it's lacking gluten, wheat, barley, rye, and again, depending on who you're looking at and what studies you're seeing, arguably oats. So if you want to have the healthiest version of the way that diets will work, start switching over to more of a whole foods gluten-free diet, dairy-free diet that is still a whole food option, right? If you're getting a lot of things out of boxes and bags, it's typically been altered in a way or processed in a way that isn't healthiest for our bodies. So if you're starting to get to a point where you're struggling and things don't work the way that they used to, you want to start looking at what is the ingredient list that I'm working from as far as what I'm taking into my body, and how is that food processed? Again, just because it's gluten-free doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy for you, though we are not fans of eating any gluten at all, which is a whole nother conversation and discussion that we can have on another day. So if you really want to look a little bit deeper into what's causing some of these challenges for you, if you're really struggling with things like hair loss, digestive issues, nutrient absorption, if you're struggling with hot flashes, if you're struggling with being frustrated, if you find yourself not being able to manage and govern your emotional responses, These are all signs that there's something going on with your system emotionally, mentally, and physically that is not supporting a healthy, balanced version of you. So I would love to talk to you also about an event that we are doing in, well, it's October now, October 25th and 26th. It's the first time we've done an in-person event in so long, and I'm so excited about it. But it's a 2-day event, very limited space. We already have 20% of the tickets are already gone. And I want you to start looking at nourish123challenge.com. Here, I'll put it up on the screen for you. So we have nourish123challenge.com. We have this event. It's 2 days. It's called Recharge. It's specifically for women who don't have the luxury of burning out. You don't have the luxury of breaking down. You don't have the luxury of stopping. You don't have the luxury of just, sitting back and healing in the way that most people look at healing. And if you want to start understanding how to govern your mental and emotional state, you really want to help balance your physical body. You really want to feel more balanced and have the energy emotionally, mentally, and physically to move through your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. And you want to start feeling better about who you are and what's going on, and you start understanding what's really contributing to the root issues. And it's not just your food, though your food's going to have something to do with it. It's not just your stress levels. It's all of the pieces. It's your paradigm. It's what's coming into your body, emotionally as well as physically. And how do you handle that so that you're not hitting a brick wall as you're going into perimenopause and menopause? How do you find the energy? How do you recharge your system? We're going to do that in 2 days. So the event's in Scottsdale, October 25th and 26th. If you are at a point where you just don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you don't know how else to come back from whatever it is that you're feeling right now, whether it's hair loss, whether it's skin challenges, digestive issues, you're just feeling tired and you don't understand why. Or even if you do understand why, but you just don't know how to get around it and get up over on it. I'm going to invite you to go to nourish123challenge.com. Come visit us in Scottsdale, October 25th and 26th. We have a limited number of seats available. 20% of the tickets are already gone. I highly recommend you at least look at the event. If you have any questions that are not answered on that event page, please send us an email to support@nourish123.com. But we look forward to seeing you there. We would love to have you. It's going to be a safe place, an amazing experience. We're going to be feeding you lunch. It's going to be gluten-free, not cassava. They're making a little bit of cassava, but it's going to be food that's made from one of our chefs who we've aligned with for this event on both days. It's a phenomenal time of the year to be in Scottsdale, the end of October. It's beautiful out here. And we really want to see you because when you can get physically into a room, it's different than doing an online event. An online event is great, and I am so thankful for Zoom, and I am so thankful for all of our online opportunities to connect with people all over the world. But there is just something special when you are in an event with other people who are all vibrating in a similar energy to you. You can get so much more accomplished, so much more energy just all around you as well as within you. And you can learn so much more because you aren't attached to the environment around you the same way. Right? Your environment has a lot to do with it. And I guarantee if you're anything like me, I go to these events and I'll go to online things, but I'm still connected to the environment around me. I'm still seeing things on my computer and the dogs are barking or I'm being pulled away. When you are at an event and you give yourself 2, 3, 4 days to go and actually concentrate on you and your healing and your learning and your growth, you can do so much more in such a short period of time than if you'd taken an online course for 3 months. We're concentrating all of this. And it's not something that you can just grab the recording on later. It's something you have to experience, be with us for. So come visit us. Come to our event, Recharge, October 25th and 26th. Go to nourish123challenge.com. Grab your ticket before it's gone. 20% of the tickets are already out the door. So I look forward to seeing you. And